Hello everyone. Now we are going to dive into one of the most essential safety features in the AI world, human in the loop design or HITL. Now, if you look this up in a formal governance framework, um, human in the loop is defined as a model that requires human intervention and interaction in the decision making cycle of our AI system to ensure accuracy, safety, and ethical alignment. But let's bring that down to earth for a moment. I like to call this the co-pilot principle. Imagine you are on a high-tech airplane. The autopilot is amazing. It handles the straight lines and the boring parts, but you still want a human pilot sitting there to take the wheel if a storm hits or if the computer gets confused. In AI, ITL means we don't just let the machine make life-altering decisions, like who gets a liver transplant or who goes to jail without a person reviewing the final call. You've probably seen this at the office where I suggest a marketing budget, but a manager has to click approve before a single dollar is spent. We do this because AI is great at patterns, but it lacks common sense. So now that we've mastered the idea of the human as the ultimate co-pilot, you might be wondering at what point the human actually steps in. Well, that brings us right into our next step, which is active supervision. Stay with me here because this is where the human part of the loop gets put to work. Formally, active supervision is the continuous monitoring of an AI system's outputs by a qualified human operator who has the authority to override or correct the machine's actions in real time. In simple words, this is the over the shoulder check. Think of a senior lawyer mentoring a first year associate. The associate writes the first draft of the contract, but the senior lawyer reads every single line, red pen in hand, to make sure nothing crazy was included. In AI, this means the human isn't just a rubber stamp, they are actively looking for hallucinations or weird logic errors that a machine might miss. I once saw a credit scoring AI try to reject a billionaire because he didn't have a traditional job. A human supervisor saw the bank balance, realized the AI was being too literal, and overrode the decision. That's active supervision in action. Um, but even the best supervisor can tilt or board if the AI is doing too much at once, which brings us right into our next step, which is the risk of automation bias. Let's break this down together because this is a huge psychological trap in AI governance. Automation bias is formally defined as the propensity for humans to favor suggestions from automated decision making systems and to ignore contradictory information made without automation, even if it is correct. To put it in simple words, I call this napping at the wheel. Have you ever followed your GPS so blindly that you ended up driving into a lake even though you could clearly see water in front of you? That's automation bias. At the office, if an AI tells a recruiter that a candidate isn't a culture fit, the recruiter might just believe it without looking at the resume simply because the machine said so. Our job as governance professionals is to design systems that keep humans alert and skeptical rather than letting them fall into a the computer is always right trance. But even if we stay alert, we need to make sure the human actually has enough information to make a good judgment, which brings us right into our next step, which is meaningful human control. This is a favorite for the legal and compliance teams. Meaningful human control is the formal requirement that a human must have a sufficient understanding of the AI's logic and enough time to make an informed, independent decision before an action is taken. In simple words, this is the power to say no. It's not enough to have a human click a button every 3 seconds. If the AI is moving so fast that the human can't actually read what they are approving, that's not a loop, that's a treadmill. To have meaningful control, the human needs to see why the AI made a choice. For example, if a medical AI suggests a specific surgery, the doctor needs to see the underlying data, not just a yes no pop up. If the human is just a puppet for the machine, the governance has failed. Now, once we ensure the human has the power, we have to look at how they help the AI gets smarter over time, which brings us right into our next step, which is interactive training and feedback. In a high functioning HITL design, the human isn't just a goalie, they are also a teacher. Formally, this is called active learning or human centric feedback loops, where human corrections are fed back into the model to improve its future performance and reduce errors. In simple words, this is the teacher student dynamic. Imagine you're teaching a new assistant how to file documents. Every time they put a legal file in the HR folder, you correct them, the assistant learns, and next time they get it right. In AI, when a human overrides a biased or incorrect decision, that correction becomes new training data. This ensures the AI lifecycle is constantly spinning toward better accuracy. It turns our co-pilot into a mentor. But as the AI gets smarter, we have to decide where the human's job ends and the machine's begins, which leads us to our final stop, the degrees of autonomy. The final piece of the HITL puzzle is figuring out the balance of power. Formally, this is the categorization of levels of autonomy, ranging from human in the loop, where humans must approve everything, to human on the loop, where humans only intervene when things go wrong, and human out of the loop, full automation. In simple terms, I call this setting the leash. You wouldn't put a leash on a goldfish, but you definitely want one on a Great Dane. For low risk things like an AI that recommends a song, we might let the human stay out of the loop. But for high risk things like a self driving truck or a mortgage approval, we keep that leash very short with a person in the loop. Governance is the art of choosing the right level of human involvement for the right level of risk. We've covered everything from the co pilot and napping at the wheel to teacher student feedback. You now have the full toolkit to ensure that even as our machines get smarter, the humans stay in charge.